youngster with assault with a deadly weapon on the record. He froze a water balloon and tossed it at a car. Okay, now, was that smart? No, it wasn't. Could he have hurt somebody? Yes. Was that the intent? Probably not, but it was still assault with a deadly weapon. Now, we've got to stop arresting kids because they don't think something through.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing, you know, a spitball, launching a spitball at somebody, now it's assault.
Right.
If it hits them, it's a battery. You know, I mean, we're too quick to call the police, and we're too quick to try to charge them with something that, it can be litigated.
Well, I can speak for myself as a youth. I basically took the law into my own hands, not knowing that it would come out as being such a serious crime or whatnot. The situation for me was not being in a setting that I had the knowledge of knowing, hey, this is not the way to do things. And once I feel once it was already time for me to face my consequence, I had the opportunity to realize that for me, I'm not able to have a nice public defender. Not just a public defender, but an attorney, as to where the person who did have a public defender.
I do have to say, public defenders are attorneys and very good ones.
I'm sorry.
But
Let me
that's okay.
Let me specify
That's
a paid attorney.
Right.
Therefore, it's
A private attorney as
private
opposed to a
attorney.
public attorney. That's okay.
And for me, at the time, aside from dealing with the repercussions of my actions, which I completely take responsibility for, basically when I tried to set on the right path, the path that I was on before the whole incident occurred, basically I wasn't able to do that because I wasn't able to get a good job, even though I was informed by my attorney that it would be withheld of adjudication, and that I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be able to be a
You would
qualified.
be a convicted felon.
Yeah, I
is what it
wouldn't
would.
qualify to be a convicted felon, so I wouldn't have to put down these applications that I'm submitting. However, thank you, by the way. However, if that wasn't the case, I was still looked upon as a convicted felon, even though I technically wasn't. And it just became, for me as a youth, it became discouraging. I didn't have the knowledge of knowing that, hey, I can put that I'm not a convicted felon. I don't even have to put this down because technically I haven't been convicted of these felonies, and it didn't ask me, hey, have you been charged or arrested? It just specifically, have you been convicted?
But Angelo, tell them what it was that caused this whole sequence of events. That's kind of what we were talking about, was that, just tell them. I mean, as I understand it, someone took your phone and you took it back.
Yeah, living in what some would call the hood in Broward County, of course. It's just the settings, and sometimes it's the law of the jungle out there, and basically, I didn't think to call the police. I had a split-second decision. Hey, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get my phone. I got beat up. Okay, if I win, I want my phone back. Not the case. People don't always think that that's the fair way of doing things. And of course, we live in a society that, hey, we have rules and regulations that we need to abide by. Even though I was a kid at the time, I didn't think that way. I went back, beat the guy up, got my phone, got a police call on me, and I didn't have anybody to defend me, so I got the crappy end of the stick, some would say. Learned a lesson, though. Took full responsibility for what I did, and rolled with the punches. My main thing was, if I learned a lesson and I'm trying to kind of be rehabilitated back into society and be a functional member of society, how can I do that and I'm not able to be employed? And I'm doing all the right things through Workforce One.
Reintegration, yeah.
Right.
Through Workforce One, through programs like OIC, I've even enhanced a lot of the imperfections I had as far as verbally speaking to people during interviews, carrying myself, grooming myself properly. There's a lot of youth that don't even know you can't go into an interview with just a T-shirt on or just some jeans. You know, you can't do these type of things. And in programs such as this young lady's, can assist youth mainly, not so far as in adults, but youth with knowing their rights. And knowing that you don't necessarily have to legally state that, hey, I've been charged with these as a youth. Because we at young ages, we do dumb things, such as going into a store with a young lady or a young man that they shoplift. And you get disciplined by association. And you learn your lesson. You don't hang out with that person anymore, but you still have that label as a shoplifter. Once you're able to learn from these lessons and try to better yourself, you should be able to progress from that. Yeah. And programs like hers, I feel like they would be able to teach these kids that, hey, I have this right once I'm 18. All of that stuff that I've been through as a youth, I don't even have to worry about them no more. I can continue on a more righteous path because I have the knowledge of this. The youth don't know their own laws.
That's right.
There are not enough programs to
And I'm
teach.
concerned about the adults as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that we know. I mean, my daughter right now is only 6, okay? But she's testing her boundaries all the time. And that's what kids do, right? It's about testing boundaries. Hopefully they test them within limits that will not wind up being arrested, but engaging in some level of risky behavior is part of growing up and learning lessons from that.
Correct.
We were all able to do that without becoming criminal, but so much now is criminalized.
That's right.
Right.
And can we find ways, and one of the reasons CSC has been so committed to diversion programs, as I'm glad you pointed out, Maria, it's not like, oh, there's no consequence for this. It's not, oh, gee, that's too bad that you did that. Yeah. No, you have to accept that there's a consequence. You have to make amends. You have to prove that you are rehabilitated or you understand the consequences of your actions, as Angelo, you said so well. But then it should be done. Yeah. Like,
That's right.
now, move on.
That's right. Yeah, let me offer some perspective.
please.
OIC, we're a community-based job training organization. Really, in our target audience, or one of our flagship programs is working with adults and youth that have these kinds of challenges. I think there's 3 parts to this segment. There is the youth, there is the system, and I mean that broadly speaking, and then most importantly, I think parents. So let's talk about the young people. I think there's a proactive and a reactive approach to this. One, proactively, there's no secret to the fact that we can anticipate the young people, as you stated, will typically make bad decisions. That's the part of all of us who were honest with ourselves. We've all made bad mistakes, whether it was jaywalking, having a fight, spitball fights, whatever it was, we've done it. And so how do we as a system proactively prepare ourselves with curriculum at the education levels, pre-K through 12, as Mason we talked about yesterday, to make sure that we create diversionary programs. But when I say diversionary from perspective to anticipating the realities of young people's behavior. The one thing that I've always observed in a workforce context, when you begin to give a young person guidance and insight about their innate talents and abilities and career options, inspiration is fostered. And so that typically derails them from risky sexual or criminal behavior. So that's one of the things I think we can do proactively. Reactively, I think it also is very helpful that if in fact a young person comes into a situation where they're having an infraction with the law, the fact that we make sure that we teach them what their rights are with respect to what Maria talked about earlier. So that if they're empowered to know the elements of the law, how to deal with the law, how to be respectful, how to be tactful and engaging of the law, I think that's important. For a long time, there's been a contentious relationship with law enforcement in some communities. I think we have an opportunity to bridge that. I can tell you that with the presence of Maria and a few others in law enforcement entities, you're seeing a progressive change and shift in that paradigm across the country. We got a lot more work to do, but I think we're heading in the right direction. The systematic challenge is the fact that we do have to take a look at, does the infraction fit the crime, the way we're labeling these? So Mason talked about when in fact a young person threw a water balloon, assault with a deadly weapon. Unfortunately, our society as a whole, when you read that infraction, you stop there and you associate that person with this deadly criminal, when in fact that's contextually incorrect. So I think we got to find a balance between accountability. There should always be accountability for all infractions, but we got to ask ourselves honest questions about the infractions and the consequences that we're putting on the young people. Last but not least, parents. I would make an appeal to parents to say the greatest opportunity to really avert these kinds of behaviors are parents. And I think parents have to really recognize the opportunity that they have to develop and embrace their kids. The side note to that is this. You ever note when you get on a plane and they suggest that if any turbulence or anything starts to happen, first put your mask on and take care of yourself, because otherwise you can't help anybody else. Unfortunately, in a lot of our communities, you have parents who had children at a young age, in some instances, who are not as well fit themselves to parent that child and provide that guidance. So I think we got to take a look at investing, in our communities, broadly speaking. You got to start at the home, and in some instances, unfortunately, you find that at the home there are challenges as well. You often hear people say that the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So we got to take a comprehensive approach of how we're dealing with these issues, because my last point is this. Remember, young people are typically responding to a condition, an environment, or a health ailment of some sort when they act out. And so we can keep on putting a Band-Aid on this issue, but we have to take a broad community approach about how we deal with this issue.